They are India's first citizens, the rightful heirs to this land. India's indigenous tribes, or Adivasis as they are commonly known, have a history that spans over thousands of years. With over 500 different tribes spread across various parts of the country, this community is diverse, but there is a tribe in India that has remained isolated from the world. The Sentinelese are uncontacted tribe living in North Sentinel Island, one of the Andaman Islands in the Indian Ocean. They vigorously reject all contact with outsiders. Because of public pressure and protest, the government has respected their wish to remain uncontacted. Today, we are going to speak about one of the few uncontacted tribes of the world, the Sentinelese. DNA analysis of related Andaman tribesmen suggests that Sentinelese are among the world's oldest communities. They are probably a direct descendant of our African ancestors, with generation going back to 70,000 years. North Sentinel Island is one of the Andaman Islands in Bay of Bengal, which also includes South Sentinel Island. It is the home to Sentinelese, and indigenous people in voluntary isolation who have rejected, often violently, any contact with the outside world. They are among the last tribal people to remain virtually untouched by modern civilization. North Sentinel Island is surrounded by coral reef and lacks natural arbors. The entire island, other than the shore, is forested. There is a narrow white sand beach encircling the island, behind which the ground rises 20 meters. A forest islet, Constant Island, also known as Constant Islet, is located about 600 meters off the southeast coastline at the edge of the reef. According to 2011 census effort, based on anthropologists' estimates of how many people live on the island could support, there are probably somewhere between 80 to 150 people on North Sentinel Island, although it could be as many as 500 or as few as 15. From what can be seen from distance, the Sentinelese Islanders are clearly extremely healthy and thriving, in marked contrast to great Andamanese tribes. The people who are seen on the shores of North Sentinel look proud, strong and healthy, and at one time observers have noted that they have many children and women as well. The Andamanese scholar Vishwajit Pandya notes that Onge narrators often recall voyages by their ancestors to North Sentinel to procure metal. The Onge, one of the other indigenous people of the Andamans, were aware of North Sentinel Island's existence. The traditional name of the island is Chikadaweye. They also have strong cultural similarities with what little has been remotely observed amongst the Sentinelese. However, Onges brought to the North Sentinel Island by the British during the 19th century could not understand the Sentinelese language, so a significant period of separation is likely. In 1771, an East India Company hydrographic survey vessel, the Diligent, observed a multitude of lights upon the shore of North Sentinel Island, which is island's first recorded mention, but the crew did not investigate any further. During the late summer monsoon of 1867, the Indian merchant vessel Nineveh foundered on the reef of North Sentinel Island. All the passengers and the crew reached the beach safely, but as they proceeded for their breakfast on the third day, they were subjected to a sudden assault by a group of naked, short-haired, red-painted islanders with arrows that were probably iron tipped. The captain, who fled in the ship's boat, was found days later by a brig, and the Royal Navy sent a rescue party to the island. Upon arrival, the party discovered that survivors had managed to repel the attackers with sticks and stones, and they had not reappeared. The first recorded visit to the island by the colonial officer was by Jeremy Humphrey in 1867. He recorded seeing naked islanders catching fish with bows and arrows, and was informed by the great Andamanese that they were Jaravas. In 1880, in an effort to establish contact with the Sentinelese, British naval officer Maurice Vidal Portman, who was serving as a colonial administrator to Andaman and Nicobar Island, led an armed group of Europeans along with convict order lines and Andamanese trackers whom they had already befriended to North Sentinel Island. On their arrival, the islanders fled into the tree line. After several days of futile search, during which they found abandoned villages and paths, Portman's men captured 6 individuals, an elderly man and a woman and 4 children. The man and the women died shortly after their arrival in Port Blair, and the children became sick. Portman hurriedly sent the children back to North Sentinel Island with ample gifts to establish friendly contact. Portman visited the island again in 1883, 1885 and 1887. In 1896, a convict escaped from the penal colony on Great Andamanese Island on a makeshift raft and drifted across the North Sentinel beach. His body was discovered by the search party some days later with several arrow piercings and a cut throat. The party did not see any islanders. arrows. In an 1899 speech, Richard Carnac Temple, who served as a British Commissioner of Andaman and Nicobar Islands from 1895 to 1904, reported that he had toured North Sentinel Island to capture fugitives, but upon landing discovered that they had been killed by inhabitants who retreated in haste upon seeing his party approach. In 1956, the Government of India declared North Sentinel Island a tribal reserve and prohibited travel within 3 nautical miles of it. Photography is prohibited. A constant armed patrol prevents intrusion by outsiders. On August 2, 1981, the cargo ship Primrose, carrying cargo between Australia and Bangladesh, ran aground in the rough seas just off North Sentinel Island, stranding a small crew. After a few days, the captain dispatched a distress call asking for drop of firearms and reported boats being prepared by more than 50 armed islanders intending to invade the ship. Strong waves prevented the Sentinelese from reaching the ship and deflected their arrows. Nearly a week later, the crew were evacuated by a helicopter contracted with support of the Indian Naval Forces. The Sentinelese scoundreled the abandoned shipwrecks to salvage iron for their weaponry. M.A. Mohammed, a scrap dealer who won the government contract to dismantle the Primrose wreck and assemble men for the purpose, recorded friendly exchange of fruits and small metal scraps with Sentinelese who visited the workplace at low tide. In 1967, a group of 20 people comprising the governor, armed forces and naval personnel were led by T.N. Pandit, an anthropologist working for Anthropological Survey of India, to North Sentinel Island to explore it and befriended the Sentinelese. This was the first visit to the island by professional anthropologists. Through binoculars, the group saw several clusters of Sentinelese along the coastline who retreated into forests as the team advanced. The team followed their footsteps and after about a kilometer found a group of 18 lean-to huts made from grass, leaves that showed sign of recent occupation as evidenced by still burning fires at the corners of the hut. The team also discovered raw honey, skeleton remains of pigs, wild fruits, anades, a multi-pronged wooden spear, bows, arrows, cane baskets, fishing nets and bamboo pots and wooden buckets. Metalworking was evident. The team failed to establish any contact and withdrew after leaving gifts. The government was aware that leaving Sentinelese and the area completely isolated and ceasing to claim any control would lead to rampant illegal exploitation of natural resources by numerous mercenary outlaws who took refuge in those regions and probably contribute to Sentinelese extinction. Accordingly, in 1970, an official survey party landed at an isolated spot on the island and erected a stone tablet atop a disused native hearth and declared that island is part of India. During the 1970s to 1980s, Pandit undertook several visits to the island, sometimes as an expert advisor in tour parties including dignitaries who wished to encounter the tribe. Beginning in 1981, he regularly led official expeditions with the purpose of establishing friendly contact. Many of these got friendly reception, with hordes of gifts left for them, but some ended in violent encounters, which were mostly suppressed. Some of the expeditions were entirely documented on film. Sometimes the Sentinelese waved and sometimes they turned their back and assumed a defecating posture, which Pandit took as a sign of their not being welcome. On some occasion, they rushed out of the jungle to take gifts, but then attacked the party with arrows. In early 1974, the National Geographic film crew went to the island with a team of anthropologists including Pandit accompanied by armed police to film a documentary, Man in Search of Man. They planned to spread the operation of gift giving over a course of 3 days and attempt to establish friendly contact. When the motorboat broke through the barrier reefs, the locals emerged from the jungle, shot arrows at it. The crew landed at a safe point on the coastline and left gifts in it, including a miniature plastic car, some coconuts, a live pig, a doll and aluminium cookware. The Sentinelese followed up by launching another volley of arrows, one of which struck the documentary director in his thighs. The man who wounded the director withdrew to the shade of the tree and laughed proudly while the others spread and buried the pig and the doll. They left afterward, taking the coconut and cookware. This expedition also led to the first photograph of the Sentinelese published by Raghubir Singh in National Geographic magazine, where they were presented as people for whom arrows speak louder than words. During 4th January 1991 visit, the Sentinelese approached the party without weaponry for the first time. They collected coconuts that were offered but retreated to the shore as the team gestured for them to come closer. The team returned to the main ship. It again returned to the island in the afternoon to find at least 2 dozen Sentinelese on the shoreline, one of whom pointed a bow and arrow at the party. Once a woman pushed down the arrow, the man buried his weapons in the beach and the Sentinelese approached quite close to the ship for the first time. The director of tribal welfare distributed 5 bags of coconuts hand to hand to the Sentinelese tribe. Pandit took part in the second expedition in 24th February. The Sentinelese again appeared without weapons, jumped on the ships and took coconut sacks. They also were curious about rifle hidden in the boat, which the team believed that they saw as a source of iron. In the light of the friendly exchanges with the scrap dealers and Portman's observation in 1980, Pandya believes that the Sentinelese used to be visited by other tribes. The series of contact expedition continued till 1994, with some of them even attempting to plant coconut trees on the island. The program were then later stopped by the Indian government. The Indian government maintained a policy of no deliberate contact, intervening only in the cases of natural calamities that might pose an existential threat or thwart poachers. A likely reason for the termination of these missions was that the Sentinelese did not let most of the post-Pandit contact teams get near them. The teams usually waited until the armed Sentinelese retreated and then left gifts on the beach or sent them adrift toward the shore. The government was also quite concerned about the possibility of harm to Sentinelese by the influx of outsiders, a result of them projecting relatively a friendly image. Photographs of 1991 expedition was removed from public display and use of them was restricted by the government. On 26 December 2004, 8.9 Richter scale earthquake that triggered the ancient tsunami had affected India's Andaman and Nicobar island chain. The Indian government were concerned how the tsunami affected the tribe and sent Indian Coast Guard helicopters which flew over the island. They found Sentinelese in a good shape and the Sentinelese were not at all pleased to see the helicopters. They also attacked the helicopters with bows and arrows. But the tsunami, which caused the massive tectonic changes to the island, it enlarged by the merger with nearby small islands and the seafloor was raised by 1.5 meters, exposing the surrounding coral reefs to the air and destroying the shallow lagoons, which were the Sentinelese fishing grounds. The expedition counted a total of 32 Sentinelese scattered over 3 places but did not find any dead bodies. On 27 January 2006, Indian fishermen Sundar Raj and Pandit Tiwari, who had been attempting to illegally harvest scraps of North Sentinel Island, drifted towards the island after their boat's makeshift anchor failed during the night. They did not respond to warning calls from passing by fishermen. Their boats drifted into the shallow waters near the island, where a group of Sentinelese warriors attacked the boat, killed the fishermen with axes. According to one report, the bodies were later put on a bamboo stakes facing out to the sea like a scarecrows. 3 days later, the Indian Coast Guard helicopter dispatched for the purpose found the buried bodies. When the helicopter tried to retrieve them, it was attacked by Sentinelese armed with spears and arrows and the mission was soon abandoned. There were contrasting views in the local community as to whether the Sentinelese ought to be prosecuted for murder. In 2018, John Allen Chow embarked on an expedition to North Sentinel Island, which he considered to be Satan's last stronghold on earth, with the aim of contacting and living among Sentinelese. He expressed a strong desire to preach Christianity to the tribe. However, he did not seek the permission from the Indian government before embarking, making his trip illegal under Indian law, with nobody being allowed on North Sentinel Island. Instead, Chow paid 2 fishermen 25,000 rupees to take him close to the island. Chow paddled a kayak from the boat to the island and attempted to communicate with the Sentinelese upon their first contact, but left the gifts and retreated when the villagers began stringing their bows at him. He later paddled back to the island and walked up to the beach, this time while attempting to communicate with the natives. Chow abandoned his kayak and swam back to the boat in panic when one of the villagers shot an arrow at him, which struck the Bible he was holding. On November 16, the date when Chow was last seen alive, he asked the fishermen to drop him off alone on the island after thinking that Sentinelese might feel more comfortable if they did not see the foreign fishing boat nearby. Fishermen told the police that they had seen tribespeople dragging Chow's body around prior to being left the island alone. Chow admitted in his diary that he was scared, but it was worth it to declare Jesus to these people. He said, John's death became an international news. He was mocked all over the world for his attempt to preach Christianity to the tribe. Even evangelical organization All Nations were criticized for encouraging him. Despite the efforts by Indian authority, which involved a tense encounter with the tribe, Chow's body was not recovered. Indian officials made several attempts to recover Chow's body, but eventually abandoned those efforts. An anthropologist involved in the case told The Guardian that the risk of dangerous clash between the investigators and the islanders was too great to justify any further attempts. The case is being treated as a murder, but there has been no suggestion that the tribesmen would be charged. The US government also did not ask the Indian government to return the remains of Chow to the United States. We, living in a modern civilization, may wonder what is the Sentinelese view of the world. What do they think about the metal birds flying in the air above the island or ships that have been floating in the ocean around the islands? But it is best for us to leave them alone because Sentinelese extreme isolation makes them very vulnerable to disease to which they have no immunity, meaning a contact with them would certainly lead to a tragic consequence for them, almost leading to end of one of the oldest tribes in the world. Following a campaign by survival and local organization, the Indian government has established that they have no plan to contact the Sentinelese, and their current position is that no further attempts to contact the tribe will be made. Periodic checks have been made by the government from the boats anchored at a safe distance from the shore to ensure the Sentinelese people appear well and have not chosen to seek any contact.